folks. Great to see you today. And back from the iceberg, we have our usual Marty Bobs, who is not going on holiday yet until tomorrow.
Great
And
to
Ma-
today. And back.
oh, I've got a bit of feedback. There's
Wow, who's got it switched on in the
one of
background?
like whoever that is in the audience. Would you mind just muting your mic? That would be super. Thank you
That'll be
so much.
Martin. Martin, who's going on holiday. Well done.
Yeah. And it's lovely to see our very own Michael Devitt, who is always here, never goes on holiday, of course.
No,
And myself,
it's a holiday.
Jill Wilson, who never also goes on holiday, hardly. But today we're going to talk to you all about reporting to our clients. What is it? What do we report? Do we want to report? Do our clients care? Is it worth the effort? Is it not? What is it, or is it just good practice? So let's kick off with some opening thoughts from Mike. I think you have some good thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, I like a report, but I'm not sure that my clients do. And I think that very often you can very much feel like you're validating a little bit what you do by sending a client a report. So let's say, for example, the good old classic WordPress maintenance report, which depending on which platform you use. So I'm going to talk about Managed WP. Managed WP is a great free option within it, which allows you to activate reports within Managed WP and then choose what goes into your client report. So, for example, you might want to put in your report the website speed. So that may actually mean something to one of your clients to say that the website speed has achieved a certain percentage. Maybe within there you'll have like the security report, the fact that it's passed security checks. But what I tend to like, and I think those things are good, but I think what validates some of the work you're doing is actually the code updates, as in the plugin updates and theme updates, to show and to also reinforce the fact that you've actually had a number of upgrades. And sometimes this can be, depending on how many plugins you've got on your website, this could be maybe 20 to 30 actual plugins on the website. So it shows how many have needed to be upgraded, and also maybe WordPress itself and maybe the theme that you're using that has also been upgraded. So what you're then doing is you're showing that all of this has been upgraded, and then reinforcing that perhaps with the email that you might send to your client saying, and we've checked and the website is working without any issues or any problems.
So you're like to use it to justify the work that you're actually doing, and so the client doesn't think you're sitting taking all their money every month and sitting in your hands. So
yeah, and I think that there's an element of doing that with a report. And
yeah.
I think one of my colleagues, I can't remember which one, we probably in one of our meetings that we had at one stage, said that they did a survey to see how many people actually opened up the maintenance report. It might have been Marty Holiday, but he might have said it. And I think, Martin, am I right in saying that there's some total of people that actually opened up the attachment was
2.
Oh, well, that's 2 more than I expected.
Out of what?
Out of more than 20.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. So, Martin, what would you say to that? Now, just before we actually say that, I'd just like to comment on Martin's T-shirt, which at the moment is back to front. Some of you may have noticed that if you're really quick off the mark, and it says ABBA, which backwards we all know spells. Yeah, ABBA. Okay, Martin, what would you reply to Mike's thought? Tumbleweed.
No, I would say, and the reason I wore this actually is ABBA Voyage, they're AIs, and you kept saying I was an AI, so I've just brought my peeps with me. Anyway, the great thing about being live is you can't cut me out so easily. So I'd like to take this opportunity to say that not very many years ago, an incredible thing happened that has changed the web industry. And that was the birth of Jill Wilson. So it's Jill's birthday tomorrow. I'd just like to say happy birthday, Jill.
No way.
Yeah, live on air. There we go.
Thank you.
Rebel. Okay, coming back to what you were saying, Mike, to do with reporting, which everybody is listening to avidly. For me, I think I want to talk about reporting in terms of football. So I watch a lot of football, and people always talk about the referee, and the referee makes, let's say, 100 decisions in the game, and most of them are actually pretty good despite their rep, and they'll maybe get 95 right and 5 wrong. And what will we talk about? The 5 they get wrong, and focus all on that. And I think it's the same with reporting. My clients, I quickly came to realize, trust me to be very diligent in keeping their website operating well, keeping it secure. And while I'm doing that, they don't care about anything else. The only time they really care is when something breaks. I think we're, it's not just web clients, we're all like that. And so the report that kept going, I've done this and I've done that and I've done the other, and everything's fine. Everything's fine. And eventually they stopped opening it because we don't care. Our business is running on. No, we expect the website to be fine all the time because A, we trust you, and B, we haven't got a clue how it works anyway. So why wouldn't it be fine all the time? So I think my early days, the reporting was just like Gill said, justifying to myself that I'm doing something for the money they're paying me for looking after their website, rather than giving them any useful information. The only exception to that was I used to include snapshots of word fence reports, which were all about someone from this country has tried to hack into your site, someone from that country's. And in some cases, about 60 attempts were made from outer Mongolia on your site, in a little backwater of the UK. And they're like, really? I'm like, yes, really. And they kind of like that. A, that somebody was interested in their site, despite the fact it's probably a bot, but but B, that they weren't successful. So that bit interested them. The bits about theme updates and speed and all the other things that we do, and we do a lot, they don't care about one little jot. And that's why I put the tracking on the email to say who's opening this then. Nobody, don't care.
Yeah.
If it went down or the site went wrong and we didn't spot it before it had gone down, which is usually what happens, then they care. Then they'd shout. Then they go, what are you doing? So I think it's important to have the numbers and to know what you're doing. But in terms of reporting that sort of stuff, the care stuff, the benefit comes in just landing in the client's inbox on a regular basis so that they can then ignore you on a regular basis. But at least that's better than ignoring you on a continuous basis. There we go.
Do you know what, Martin? I've just been transported back to 1983. Okay. And
before you were born?
Before you were born, did you say?
No, Jill, I was born in 83.
You were born in 83.
I was alive. Yeah, I wasn't actually born. No.
So I'm standing on my doorstep, and the guys come round with the pirate video for Return of the Jedi, and we've put it in the video. And halfway through, the voices went from being in sync to being completely out of sync, and then they got ahead, and then they went behind, and it's just been a little bit like that watching you on the video.
I did wonder where you were going there.
It's not so bad for me. So yeah, well, so guys, just to keep you in the loop, what we discovered with using Restream, which is the tool that we're using to do this podcast, the backgrounds, if we put those up, apparently they start to cause a bit of a lag over time. So that's why I took mine down. But Martin insisted that he was going on holiday tomorrow and must have an iceberg behind him. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So these are really interesting points that you guys have been making. And this is about your regular month-on-month maintenance reports. Now, of course, reports can come in all sorts of different formats. And we're talking about a written formal report. And I was just thinking, actually, when we tell a client that a piece of work is done, we send an email and we say, that's done. Or, we've done this, we've done that, we've done the next thing. That's actually a report, isn't it? And that's something that we are doing all the time. And from that, I actually think that is a real opportunity for us to then use that as some kind of quality assurance? Because I was just thinking about the recent thing that I had where I sent the email to the client and said, yeah, they wanted me to upload their new logo, which I did. And then, but I'd missed a couple of places. And so then they came back and said, oh, you've missed that. And, you know, there's nothing that makes you feel worse than not doing everything that you want to do for the client. And I thought, you know what, if I'd used that moment as a QA moment, I would have had a much better outcome with that. What do you guys think about that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that just talking about sending an email that's a kind of like a report kind of made me also think of something that I've done where I've created a video report. I think video reporting was something that Sarah Oates introduced me to in DiviChat. And I know that's something that she's used where she's just literally sent sometimes she sent a video to herself of how she's built a site, but she's also sending a video to a client sort of, you know, outlining a few things that she may need. I've done some video reports for some of my SEO clients and covered quite a bit in there. The one problem with it is if you actually want any actions to, you know, they want them to return anything for you, you need to actually put that in writing, because otherwise you're in this situation where you're saying, now, if you can supply me with this, then I'll do that for you. And then that relies on them making a mental note of that or rewatching the video, which a lot of people don't have time for. So I think if it's just an explanation, then that's great. If it's something that you want somebody to act on, you've got to be really careful with the length of the email that you're going to send, because I've said to clients, oh, today I did this. So I tend to write an email that's got like headings in it. And I'll say, today I've done this. And then I'll put actions for you in the email saying, oh, and I need this, 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 and this. And very often I'll get a response back saying, thanks, Mike. And that's it. And so at that point, you think, okay, I'm going to have to pick up the phone. I'm going to have a proper conversation as opposed to using email. It's funny how email as a reporting or as a way of communicating has become almost still very passive from what it was. It was something that was very, everybody would read everything that was written in an email and then respond. But because we have messaging now, messaging is a far more instant response back and forth. So it's far more productive and you're more likely to get a response if you can go into messaging mode, providing that the person's there to answer the message. And I've seen companies use this. I've seen companies use the whole messaging side as a far better way of responding to something than through email. So
yeah. I think that's really true. I do switch to messaging if I don't get a response. Martin, would you like to?
Yeah, bring us back onto reporting.
Well, do you know what? It is reporting in a sense, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So
a little bit of controversy. Come on.
Yeah, come on in, Martin. Come on in.
Yeah, no. I was just going to go back to your QA point, because I think that's extremely valid. I mean, I've put a number of sites live in the last 4 weeks, and there's a series of checks that you do that you inform the client, this has happened and this is what you need to do, and you need to be aware of blah, 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 because getting the site live is the start of the journey, not the end of the journey, and that sort of thing. But in doing that, and that part of communication reporting, you're right, it does help you to go, oh, actually, I forgot to do that bit. I must do that bit as well. So having that process tied into a report, I think the QA is a very valid point. Well made there, Jill.
Yeah. So come back around to your disparagement of was it video or WhatsApp as
no, just messaging. It's like when you talk about reports, and do clients want reports? Do they access them, all the rest of it? And I'm just like, the idea of communicating through messaging is reporting Yeah, okay, I think you're stretching the limit there, personally. There we go.
So actually, what I thought that's a really good point, Martin. It's about communication, isn't it? So what is it we're doing to communicate with our clients, and how are we communicating effectively? So in actual fact, if a big lengthy report is not an effective communication, then we shouldn't be doing it, because that's a waste of our time and our clients are not reading it. So then we need to find out, okay, what is it that our clients actually will be able to receive and then build upon in terms of communication, because it's all about what you're trying to do effectively is manage their work, the work that you're doing for them, but also keep the relationship really positive and really good. I read recently that if somebody that you have an interaction with goes away with a negative feeling, well, you understand that that's going to leave a bad taste in their mouth. But if it's a satisfactory feeling, that's also not going to take them forward with you either. You have to deliver a feeling that makes them feel delighted in what you're doing for them. That's how they need to go away from every interaction with you. And maybe a big report is not going to do that, but maybe like a little WhatsApp saying, I've just done this for you, and it's looking good. You can sleep easy tonight, might do it. Any thoughts on that?
My initial one is I try really hard to keep my clients away from WhatsApp.
Yeah.
It's bad enough getting all of the communications we get through messaging mediums anyway. So yes, if absolutely necessary, but personally I prefer to manage expectations and still try and keep within emails, phone calls, possibly video calls, but be it Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp, personally I don't want that in my business if I possibly can.
So I think that there's probably a split here of information that you are wanting to share with a client, and let's just think about two of the key disciplines that we cover in this group. One is web design and one is SEO. So with web design, the kind of reports that we are going to potentially send a client would be exceedingly different to what somebody who is paying you for SEO would maybe expect. I think that there is, I'm not a massive fan of sending the good old report saying, here's your SEO report for the month that shows that this particular tool rates your website as 95 out of 100 and there's a few bits that need to be sorted. I've had some clients who have had that set up for them, and then they've sent it to me saying, oh, I've just had this report. And it's a little bit like Google's report when it sends them and says, from Search Console, it says, to the owner of this website, you've got issues with your website. And what does the client always do? They forward the email to you and say, Mike, Gill, Martin, can you fix this? Or can you look at this for me? And you turn around to them and say, actually, the good old clickable elements too close together email that Google sent you, you need to just ignore, because next time it will have disappeared. It's just, it couldn't read your page properly. And so there was an issue with that. And then there's the reports that you could potentially share. So if you guys don't mind, I'll just go through a couple.
You've got 30 seconds, Mike.
30 seconds, right.
And so, I've got a comment about SEO reports within that time as well.
Okay. Oh, Christ, within that time. And I've already lost 10 seconds.
No, you can have 30 seconds as well.
Oh, that's nice. So I'm going to just give you some people to look up. So Niklas Buschner, you can find him on LinkedIn, has a company called Radiant Space. He has got some brilliant Looker Studio reports. I think Looker Studio reports are really excellent because you can share those with the client and you can give them view access. So if you need to take a client through some of the work you've been doing on SEO and explain to them where their keywords come up and what pages show for those keywords, to explain the whole concept of cannibalization, for example, then a Looker Studio report that you can then get onto them and say, look, we only need this one page. We don't need 10, because these 10 pages are all competing for the same keyword. And this is why I'm asking you to do what the whole point of our conversation. I think that's really, really helpful.
Okay.
And one other lady who's really, really good in the reporting space is Hannah Rampton. Look her up on www.hannahrampton.co.uk. She's also got some very good Looker Studio reports.
And we'll put them in the show notes for you guys. Okay. Martin, here's your thoughts.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I mean, reporting in general, and this, I think it applies particularly to SEO and to AdWords, is when I worked in a very big company, my immediate boss wanted a very detailed report. But her immediate boss wanted a more blue sky, as they call it, a bigger report. And their boss wanted just big numbers. And the point is that when you're talking about particularly SEO reports, which can be full of facts and figures and this and that and all the rest of it, you need to have a conversation with your client before you start. How much detail do you actually want? Because some of them don't want all of that stuff. And there's a tendency to, again, give lots of information when all they want is, so pitch it at the level that makes them happy. And that's how you get a happy client.
That's really good, Martin. That's really good. I really think that's important, thinking about who your client is and what level of input that they are able to receive. And that's about getting to know your client. Well, folks, we have run out of time far too quickly. It's been so good to be here with you. Thanks again to our wonderful panel. And as you can see, Mike has put in the two guys into the chat, so you can pick that up there, or we'll pick it up in the show notes. And next week, guys, we are going to look at, some of you might have heard that with Divi 5, there is a pre-alpha demo. Is that what?
Well done. You said that.
Yeah.
Was
I got that. And I think we're going to have a little play with that this week, and then we're going to report back to you. So any of you Divi fans or Divi haters, whatever you are out there, let's have a chat about that next week and see where we're going. So I think we're going to do another live. Is that right, guys?
I think we can. Why not?
All
Live
right,
is
so
good.
join us live for the debate on the pre-alpha demo Divi 5. See you later, guys.